Welcome to Adjusting, a safe space for candid conversations about mental health and well-being with your host, Justin G. Nelson. Whether you're recovering from trauma, redefining your purpose, managing mental health, or simply craving more authenticity, this show is for you. I hope something resonates with you and helps you on your own personal journey. So sit back, relax, and let's start adjusting. And welcome back to episode 3 of Adjusting Podcast with your host, Justin G. Nelson. I cannot believe I am doing a podcast. Y'all, I was anti-podcast for at least 3 years. You couldn't pay me enough money. You couldn't give me a stimulus check to listen to a podcast. And here I am with a mental health podcast. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? But first, a word from my sponsor. I don't have them yet. Y'all, we're really working on it. I think I'm at 106 downloads now. Thank you. Thank you for supporting me. Now, I will say the first 2 episodes I really wanted to use to get comfortable, get a rhythm, get my feet wet, find my voice in this podcast community. It's very saturated. And I will say there were moments I was just like, 2 episodes is all I need. I can say I did it. I'm done. But I sat with God the other night and I said, God, help me position myself so that what I'm doing not only serves me, but serves others. Let this be my way of using my purpose, my gift, my voice to help others. Listen, when you are sincere in your prayer and your word to God, He be responding instantly. He was like, just trust me. Trust yourself. We got this. I said, okay, boom. So here we are, trusting God. But with that in mind, I want to now begin my episodes asking you to join me in a quick breath. I just want you to center yourself. But if you are driving, focus. I don't need you trying to take a deep breath on the road, okay? Because I'm asking you to close your eyes. You need to focus. We believe in safe driving over here. But if you are not driving, if you are home washing dishes with your child, doing your hair, whatever you're doing, I just ask that you take a quick break and take a quick breath with me just so we can center ourselves so that this conversation we have is meaningful not only to me but to you. So on the count of 3, I invite you to breathe in and out. You ready? Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in and breathe out. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in and breathe out. Thank you. We can now enter this safe space together. So episode 3, the journey to New York City, the journey to this new life I've cultivated, but we'll call it adjusting to NYC. October 16th, 2014, I left Memphis with a suitcase, 2 suitcases, a backpack, and a dream. That sounded so Lifetime movie, but it's serious. I was working at the University of Memphis as an office assistant, and I told them, I said, y'all, I'm moving to New York. And they said, well, we knew you were leaving at some point. We just didn't know how soon. I was really shocked. My mom was just like, okay. I was just like, you're not going to fight this, And she was just like, go. I had just received an Ostrander Award in Memphis, which is kind of the equivalent of a Tony Award in New York City for ensemble dance. And to me, I was just like, I don't know what else I can do. Like, I don't know how much higher I can go in the city. And when I was at MTSU, Middle Tennessee State University, I was at the Black College Dance Exchange, and I met T. Lang, and she said to me, get out of Memphis, get out of Tennessee. You are too talented to be here. Not saying that there's no talent in Memphis, but the level of professionalism she saw in me, she said, just get out, just go. So this is my faith journey, And I just want to share things that I have learned while making the transition to living here. Because in October of 2024, it'll make 10 years. I am not the same person I was 10 years ago. Again, like I wasn't in therapy. I was not a fan of therapy. I didn't know anything. I knew mental health things like terms like depression and stress and those things, but I didn't have the vocabulary or the knowledge or the know how to implement the things to heal, or did I have the position to share experiences from a healed perspective? So when I moved here, my cousin and I moved here, and I thought I had us an apartment. Like it was a 4-bedroom apartment. And the guy who I subletted the room from, he said, "Yeah, it's 2 rooms available. You both can move in." I was like, "Look at God. I see you working already, Big G." Yeah, no, it was 1 room available. And my cousin ended up staying with me one night, and then he found somewhere else to stay. I stayed, and boy, was I in for a ride. So a lot of you know what I have gone through with roommates here in New York. In my head, I have moved 17 times before I got to the apartment I'm in now. So if you're watching this on YouTube, this is the longest living situation I've had since living in New York. I've moved from Brooklyn to the Bronx to Washington Heights to Brooklyn to Washington Heights to Brooklyn to Gowanus to Prospect Park to Prospect Park to Washington Heights. I couch surfed, and then baby, I moved to hell. I was in Brownsville, and that's when shit hit the fan. I am sorry, but that was one of the lowest and then the pandemic happened. My God. That was the story I was talking about in episode 1 when I had the real traumatic moment. But I learned so much from these living situations. 4 years ago, I would have said I hated every last one of my living situations. I thought they all were crazy. I live with strangers. Okay, let's start there. I live with complete strangers. I did no background check. Only thing I knew was that I could afford the rent. I had a door to close and I had a key. That's all. So my first set of roommates, there was a couple. There was the guy who was like the head roommate, and there was a girl with a cat. The cat always came in my room. I think I'm allergic to cats, and I think they know that. So I was working merchandise on Broadway. I came home one night. The guy was passed out on the steps, and the girl was upstairs eating chicken. I said, "Girl, aren't you vegetarian?" "Well, sometimes when I'm drunk, I eat chicken." They do that? Like, I'm vegan. If I ate chicken, I'm gonna turn into a chicken. Like, it's no way that I can. So anyway, that happened. The roommate that was in charge. This is this has nothing to do with my mental health journey, but it was just funny. So one night he was just saying that I met this guy, so I want to go help him put his furniture together. I was like, "Is that code for like you want to go have sex with him or something?" He was like, "Oh no, that's nasty." Why are they still together to this day? Like you went to go help him put his bed together. It just so happened that he was just over at the apartment every single day after that. So it turned into 6 people sharing one refrigerator. So let's talk about that space. So growing up in Memphis, it was my mom, my brother, and myself, and my mom, my brother, my dad, myself, and I in the house. That's common, You share meals. I was grocery. It's not like I was grocery shopping for myself. My brother was grocery shopping for himself. No, we were a family. So if we had a meal, we ate the meal. Imagine that times 4 in one refrigerator, y'all. That first living situation taught me so much about routine, budgeting, prioritization, time management, and boundaries. because they would come in the kitchen. It's like, why are you eating the same thing? Again, at the time, I was not vegan. I was a gym rat. I had steak, I had chicken, I had tilapia, I had boiled eggs, I had copious amounts of steamed vegetables and rice. And if you touched my stuff, we would go fight. Okay, we weren't gonna fight, but I was counting macros, okay, and I was in good shape. But it also helped me to stay focused because I knew I moved to New York for a reason. And I was very clear. I was like, listen, I don't want to be y'all friends. I'm here for a reason, and it's to be on Broadway. And it worked because I booked my first tour 6 months after moving here. What I thought was going to just turn into like book the tour, do the tour for 9 months, and then come back and be on Broadway was not the case. So while I was working merchandise, I was working at the Big Apple Circus, and I met this guy, and I was just like, "Oh, he's cool. Let's be friends." And when I was on tour, I kept in touch, and I was like, "Hey, I'm coming. I'm finishing up the tour. I need somewhere to stay because I lost my last apartment." And they were just like, "Oh yeah, you can definitely come. Stay with me." And I was like, "Oh, look at God again, working it out." Yeah, no, I don't know if that was Big G working it out because that man lied. He said that he had a two-bedroom apartment. It was a one-bedroom with a living space that had a cloth dividing the couch from a bed that he put in the other room. Y'all, I was living in the living room. That is not a pun. Okay, that was torture. Lesson learned. You really have to know the space you're going into. You don't always get the luxury of scoping things out, but it just speaks to the level of faith that you have at times when you go into spaces with the unknown, and you just have to make it work. Now, I did have some emotional breakdowns because that was not the life I had dreamed, but I knew that God was guiding me and teaching me stuff, preparing me for where I am now. I left that situation because I found out that he was charging me more than what I should. I mean, it wasn't a two-bedroom apartment, so let's start there, but he was overcharging me for the space. So a friend of mine was going on tour. I subletted her apartment. Hmm. Now, this story. It's my first. No, it's my second instance with creatures in the apartment. So this roommate, she was a stickler for cleaning. She was like, "Hey, when you finish cleaning, can you like wipe down the oven and the floor? Just, really kind of keep it clean so we don't have mice in the apartment." It's like, "Girl, I'm eating cereal. Just, just keep it clean." Okay, 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 calm down. So one night I was watching, I think Scandal or Grey's Anatomy or something, and no one was home. I was like, "Oh, my first time just being alone in an apartment in New York, just listening to the wind blow and yada yada yada." So I had a bag of chips and I poured them in a bowl and I put the bowl on the ground. And she walked in and she was like, "Could you please get that out the floor?" I was like, "Girl, I need you to calm down. Don't tell me what to do." I walked out. I went to a bar. I had a drink. I had some fries because I was vegan then. And I just drank a lot. So much that I left my credit card there and had to go back the next morning. But then she saw me in the morning. She said, "Are you okay? I feel like we." I said, "You know what? I'm leaving. I'm moving out." And I was just at a point, like I didn't know what boundaries were, but I knew what disrespect was. And I was not about to be in an uncomfortable situation any longer than I needed to when I knew there was another option. And again, faith activated. I said, "I'm just going to go somewhere else." So I think I ended up that time going back to Brooklyn and I stayed with two of my friends. But it just reminds you that there is always a safety net. Like there is always a plan B. Even if you don't see it, it's there. So I moved back to Brooklyn, stayed there for a hot second because I don't like to crowd other people's space, and this is why I'm so grateful for my own space now, but we'll get there. So I stayed there and I went to Bushwick. This apart again, you would have thought I learned my lesson from the Bronx, but I didn't. This room was smaller than that. This room is sh- it's a room. It was a bedroom because by New York standard. If it has a window, it's a bedroom. I was on an air mattress, and this roommate had a cat too. And I'm pretty sure that cat punctured a hole in my air mattress. But through all of this, I still was able to keep my optimism that things would turn around, that I was still going to auditions, and I was like, I'm going to be on Broadway. I'm going to be on Broadway. Again, this glitter dream that I had, and I was just like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. This is going to pay off. It is going to pay off. The best is yet to come. They tried to take the rent up. I said, nope. And I moved. So I moved back to Washington Heights. I moved to Washington Heights. A friend of mine was going on contract. And that's the thing about us performers. Like, sublets are a dime a dozen. And especially if you have friends who are booking things and you're not booking things, you help them out, cover their lease so they don't have to break their lease. And it just works out. So that situation was a blessing. That is when I got introduced to more spiritual work. I was doing, that's when I first got my crystal, my chrysocolla crystal. And the living space was just bigger. And I was just like, oh my God, like there is bigger living spaces. Because the first 3 spaces I was in were cramped. I could fit 2 king size beds in that apartment. And it was nice. Like I got along with the roommates. I could cook in the kitchen comfortably. I could buy food and have a whole shelf to myself. So that put me in a better mindset. I was going back to church. Now, granted, listen, from Washington Heights to Brooklyn, I had to leave Saturday night to get to church on time, but it worked out. It's like an hour commute. But I was just in a much better place. And it just allowed me the chance to realize that your surrounding really affects your attitude, your mental health. Like if you are in a place where you're constantly fighting or flighting, fight or flight kind of thing, and you just don't know when what's the term, when the ball is going to drop or when something's going to happen, and so you're numb and you're not allowed to just be, or joy and happiness and peace are not at the forefront of your mind. It's exhausting. It is so exhausting. But like when you're in a place where you're just like, ah, okay, things are feeling better, everything just kind of falls in line. And I was finally in that place for the first time since moving to New York. And things were going well. I was journaling. I had my first reading with my friend Todd. It was beautiful. And every reading I've had has always shown me success. It's always shown me the sun. It's shown me an anchor. It's shown me that things are working out. I just had to trust the process. So my friend was coming back from contract. I had to find somewhere else to live. I think that's when I moved to Brooklyn, Prospect Park. I never learned my lesson of looking at places before I go. I just, again, trust God, trust these people and no serial killers. Knew I could afford the rent, and I had a key, and I had a door this time. Oh, but I didn't know how many people were in that apartment. I was there. My friend was moving to LA. He and his now wife were moving to LA. And it was the first time I had like a legit bed, like a bed that I think I still have the mattress to this day. I need a new mattress, by the way, but that's not important. But what's important is it's like it was another good space. The bedroom was, at least. Because this apartment, y'all, I had a couple next to me. We were divided. We shared a bathroom. We shared I guess it wasn't a bathtub. It was like a shower room. And my landlord's mom was my roommate. Not knowing that at the end of those 6 months, it would be my landlord, my landlord's mom, my landlord's son, my landlord's brother, and my landlord's brother's wife, on top of the couple and me. I couldn't use the kitchen, but twice a week. I had a fridge in my bedroom, a huge fridge in my bedroom, and the couple would slide sticky notes under my door to say, hey, it's your time to clean. In that moment, I said, no more roommates. Ain't no way I can keep this up. I can't live with this family and this cup. I can't. I in that moment I said I have to protect my peace. So I started working. I was working as many hours as I could to start saving money because I was like, I didn't move from Memphis to live like this. Like no one should be living like that. So I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna make this money and I'm gonna get my own apartment. Delusional. I was not ready for my own apartment. But God said, okay, I hear you. You're gonna have to pay a little more, but I'll give you a little more peace of mind. This guy roommate was moving out and I got on Facebook to find like I actually looked at the apartment this time. So kudos to me, I learned my lesson. It was a 2-bedroom apartment. That was the best one. 2-bedroom apartment. We had an elevator. We had laundry in unit. Y'all, this is luxury compared to the other places I've lived. Like you don't get an elevator in New York. Okay. You get walk up. So the elevator was already a flex. This guy was so financially stable that his dad paid for our utilities. That's a blessing. Okay, because utilities at times is a whole third job. So I was just like, God is good. I then was really getting into content creation. And so the joy came back, that purpose came back. And I was like, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. My mom bought me a couple of things for Christmas. And I found that I was really collecting a lot of items for the kitchen. Now, mind you, my roommate did not cook. I had the whole fridge to myself. I had the whole, and I was vegan. Well, I am vegan, so I was vegan at the time, and it was just great to be able to get a get a glimpse of what it was like to live alone because he was never there, and it was just so peaceful. Coming home to an empty apartment, coming home to a quiet apartment, and just being in this new city. So it allowed me a lot of time for deep thinking and reflection and prayer. I was going back to church again. It was 3 trains to get to church, but I was going. I was going. Church never left my trajectory because of how I was raised. Like I'm always going to church. But it was just great to be in that space again. And then May, 2 days before the lease was up, he said, "Hey, I'm not renewing the lease. We got to move out." I found somewhere in Williamsburg. Where are you gonna go? I had 24 hours to pack up my entire apartment, find a storage space. No, I had 6 hours to pack up my entire apartment, find a storage space, get to work. Came back, moved everything to the storage space, and took a duffel bag with me to the Hamilton store. And my friend was just like, "Are you okay?" I said, "I need somewhere to stay." And that was the first time I felt like I was homeless in New York because I did not know where I was going, but God knew. And He will put people in your path to be like, "Oh, I got you. You're not alone." I was just like, ugh. So I couch surfed for at least 2 months. I would stay with a friend for 2 weeks, and stay with somebody else for 2 weeks, and stay with somebody else for 2 weeks. Because again, I did not want to become a burden on anyone. And this is something that I talked about with my shadow work. Like, I don't like asking people for help when I don't feel like as if I can repay it. But they were so grateful because it was like, you're a great friend, you're a great person. So I want to help you. I was just like, thanks, guys. So I ended up doing that. I stayed in Washington Heights for like 2 months. And then I found a place in Gowanus. Gowanus is in Brooklyn. Gowanus is very far. Okay, it's nice, but I had a washer and dryer in unit. So it was right outside my bedroom. But my roommate looked like Momo, and she got on my nerves, which let me know I don't think I can live with women, but that's fine. But this young lady was the epitome of annoying, and God was just like, okay, let me get you out of here because he's going to keep taking this rent up because he knows this is a nice neighborhood. And my friend Carrie was moving to LA, and she's like, hey, do you still need somewhere? So that's how I ended up in Brownsville in hell. Whew. All right, let's tell this story. So I got to Brownsville. I looked at the apartment. It was nice and it was cheap, but it was far. But I made it work. And everything was going well. Everything was going well. Everything was going well until the pandemic. Until the pandemic. I don't think my relationship with God got any more real until the pandemic because that's when life changed in every way possible. I lost so many family members. I lost friends in the pandemic, and it just shifted my focus of how I saw life, how I saw time, how I saw friendships, how I viewed health. Like everything shifted in the pandemic. And that is when I went through that traumatic situation with the roommate. And I wish that upon no one, but it had to happen. Because had it not happened, I probably would have still been staying there. I probably would have not spoken up for myself in the way that I did. And the biggest lesson that I've learned through all of this, and I'm still learning it to this day, is that when God wants you to move, He will make your life a living hell. He will put every battle and weapon formed against you to your neck until you say, God, I'm tired. Get me out of this. I will never forget. I was talking to some friends. I said, y'all, I have got to get out of this apartment. I don't think I'm gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it. I'm gonna move back home at this point. Like I had saved enough money with the mindset to move, and I didn't know my roommate was eavesdropping on my conversation. Like I was talking fairly low. Like I would either walk outside and walk around a track just so I had some privacy. But he was like, "Yeah, I knew you were planning to move." I was just like, "Okay, well, you gonna help me pack? Like you all in my business." So I just didn't. I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel like I had the privacy. Even when I was in therapy, my therapist is like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "No, I'm in my bed with the music playing because I feel like they're listening to me." And God was just like, "If you are ready to go, pack. Just start packing." So I started packing. I started buying boxes, but I kept everything in my bedroom. But I couldn't lock my door. So when I left, I think they went in there. Um, but it when that after that situation happened with the anxiety attack and all of that, God was just like, let's move. And listen, in a matter of 2 weeks, I was out and in the place that I'm in now. And I sincerely thank God. I thank my therapist. I thank everyone for listening. And most of all, I thank myself for trusting God and knowing that it was time to go. And with that in mind, I often say God puts you in positions to test your faith. And we always like, why me, God? Or why do I keep going through this? And I said to myself one time, why not me? Like, why, if I, like in Sunday school or in grade school, you learn the same things over and over in a cycle. Like you learn your basic things. So in math, you learn your addition, subtraction, division, multiplication. But you have to learn those basics before you can get to the more complicated things, realizing that it all just stems back to the basic things. So I had to learn how to live with people, how to manage my space, how to set boundaries, how to pick and choose my battles. how to walk away, how to stand up. All these things I learned with living with these other people. And honestly, I literally learned how to clean an apartment in New York because it's not the same. Like you would think in another city or space, your apartment, your place is clean. No, New York, you got to do a little more because these little mice, they any small smell, they're in there. Okay, because this city is filthy. You can be the cleanest person in America, come to New York, you dirty. But all these things just it helped me become a better me. Now I'm in my own space. I will never take silence for granted. Okay. I will say I do find joy at times leaving a dish in the sink because it's my space and it's my sink and I want to. Now I'll rinse it out. I just won't put it away. And it's just you have more time to reflect in your own space. I got a chance to shred things because for my spiritual people out there with the new moons and full moons, you don't want to keep taking old things into new spaces. And I had a lot of junk mail. This is where it gets churchy. I had a lot of junk mail. I had a lot of old stuff. I had a lot of things weighing me down. And when I got in this new space, I said, I can't take that with me. So I started throwing things away. I was burning things too, shredding things. And it just allowed me just like, Justin, you've come a long way. And if you're listening to this and you are somebody who is wanting to take the next step, I encourage you to try it. But know that certain things, certain people, certain habits cannot go with you. It's not that you are a different person. You have a different outlook on your purpose. And it's great that you went through what you went through to help shape you to who you are now, but it can't go with you. Friendships can't go with you. Your lack of professionalism, your procrastination, your avoidance, your they cannot go with you. Habits like, I don't know, it's a shift that happens when you get your own space because you got to keep it up. And you know that your space is a reflection of you. So I don't like clutter. I will say like I grew up with clutter because I was a child that thought everything had a purpose and like had to really hold on to it. But then I introduced to Marie Kondo and the mindfulness of it all. And I was just like, thank you for what you served in my life, but I no longer need you. So thank you. And I let it go. So I did that to friendships. I did that to clothing. I did that to habits. And I said, thank you. Thank you for what you've done for me, but I got to let you go. So thank you for tuning in to this episode of my journey to adjusting in NYC. And before you go, I invite you to do one more breath with me to kind of end this space. So on the count of 3, I invite you to breathe in. 1, 2, 3, and breathe out. Until next time, bye. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. I hope you take something away to help you make the adjustments you need. Before you go, please take a quick second to share this with someone you care about. And if you can, please leave a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform you're listening to this on. For more information about adjusting or to inquire about being a guest, head over to adjustingpod.com. Until next time.